Honourable Willie Jackson.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister, does he stand by his statement that the treaty is fundamental to our nation?
The Honourable Tama Potaka.
Mr Speaker, talofa lava. Yes, the treaty is fundamental to our nation. It is embedded in our constitutional fabric, past, present and future. Before I resume my seat, may I acknowledge Matua Willie Jackson for returning from the Oxford debate successfully. I understand your colleagues have been very happy in your absence.
Mr Speaker, thank you very much for that. Kia ora. Mr Speaker, how can the Minister stand by his statement? Sorry, Mr Speaker. He rattled me a little bit with that compliment.
Just calm it
Threw me a little bit, Mr Speaker. I'll just come to that question again, Mr Speaker. What priority, if any, will the Minister's statement reflect the aspirations of Māori in Budget 24?
Mr Speaker, talofa lava. We are prioritising the 35,000 extra Māori who ended up on benefit over the last 6 years, and the 60% of Māori tamariki who didn't make it to school as a result of the Labour education approach, and also the 1,700 Māori households who are currently living in emergency housing up and down the country in places like Fenton Street, Rotorua and Ulster Street, Hamilton West, and making sure that we address the needs of Māori and all New Zealanders.
Mr Speaker, how can he stand by his statement when all that Māori see are cuts to Māori initiatives and the continued undermining of the Treaty of Waitangi?
Mr Speaker, talofa lava. One more sleep to go, hi-ho, hippie-ho, and we hope to see tax relief from many Māori and all New Zealanders.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Willie Jackson.
Mr Speaker, what best reflects the government's position in relation to the treaty in Māori? Winston Peters, who has compared Māori policy akin to Nazi Germany. David Seymour, who believes a treaty partnership is a misinterpretation.
Point of order. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr Speaker, if you're going to make statements in a question, then you have to ensure you can validate them with proof. No such comment was ever made in the way Mr Jackson just outlined.
And I made strong recommendations to the Business Committee on Tuesday that questions in the House that raise, that basically contain allegations against others should be avoided for the order of the House. So you want to speak to the point of order?
Yes, I'll speak to the point of order, Mr Speaker. Mr Peters, I was talking about a reference he made to Nazi Germany at his own conference, and I just want to apologise to the Minister. I want to clarify to the House, I don't want to misrepresent him, but it was both Nazi Germany and the Ku Klux Klan that the Minister compared the policy with. Mr Speaker,
yeah, that's fine.
This is from his own conference.
That's good. Well, you can table it if you want to, but I'm sure it's widely read and expected. The other point I'd make is that the Minister Potaka has no responsibility for anything that was said by the leader of the New Zealand First Party. So think about that, and right on Winston Peters.
Mr Speaker, not only did Willie Jackson say something wasn't true in his first question, he's now compounded it when he knows full well that speech says it's Labour Party policy that resembles the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, Mr Speaker, I can only
what are we doing here? Are you speaking to that, or are you going
I'm speaking to that, Mr Speaker, because I stand by...
Well, hang on. There's no way I'm going to get a ruling here that says that you can go ahead with those sort of accusations. Think about your words. You're obviously very good at this debating stuff, so think about the way you put your question together.
Right, Mr Speaker, I wanted to get, with respect, I wanted to get a position from the Minister in terms of what basically sums up the government's Māori and treaty policy, and that's why I'm giving the examples of David Seymour, the Honourable Winston Peters, and the last person I wanted to give as an example was the Prime Minister, whose view on Māori policy and treaty policy is that Māori can only protest on the weekend when it's convenient to him. So I would like to know from the Minister what basically sums up the government Māori and treaty policy.
Well, the problem is, I'm sure he can't answer that in a concise fashion that question time would allow, but I will ask him to perhaps say, make a brief statement.
Mr Speaker, talofa lava. I'm very proud to be part of a party that started the historic treaty settlements process over 30 years ago. And I stand with my esteemed colleague, Honourable Paul Goldsmith, who has continued in the vein of Christopher Finlayson and Doug Graham. E mihi ana kia tātou.
Well, Mr Speaker, point of order.
Point of order.
Mr Speaker, so the question's very clear. I can't help it, Mr Speaker. I'm asking for the government policy and the government and his view in terms of Winston Peters, David Seymour and the Prime Minister, and he's waffling on about Doug Graham.
No. Well, I guess he's just throwing out a bunch of names like you have. So I just think the question, with all due respect, is not that clear. I'll give the member one more shot at a question. I'll let him go.
Mr Speaker, in terms of the Minister, I ask the next question, is the Minister planning to attend the Hui Taumata this Friday in Hastings? And if so, what will he be saying to all those concerned about his government's Māori policies?
Talofa lava, Mr Speaker. As we all know, tomorrow is the budget and there are various responsibilities that go with being a Minister of this government attending to budget matters. I look forward to hearing and potentially seeing the outcomes of the hui that will be convened at Omahu, the home of various hapu of mine, Ngāti Mahuika, Ngāti Honomokai and Ngāti Paki. Kia ora tātou.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Nicola Willis.
Do Māori stand to gain from a budget that delivers responsible economic management?
Mr Speaker, I look forward to hearing the budget tomorrow, and I wanted to acknowledge our Manu Pūtea, Minister Nicola Willis, for her absolutely professional and diligent approach to ensuring that Māori and all New Zealanders benefit from this budget.
Supplementary question. We'll just wait for a bit of quiet. WhangareiTim.
Does the Minister believe that te tiriti is fundamental to our nation?
Talofa lava, Mr Speaker. Yes, and I believe that Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, is the basis for the kotahitanga that I have subscribed to for the course of my life.
Supplementary. Does he believe, and will he confidently put on record, that all the rangatira on behalf of their respective hapu who signed Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Māori text, ceded sovereignty to the British Crown? Or did Māori maintain rangatiratanga?
Talofa lava, Mr Speaker. As we know, the Treaty of Waitangi, Te Tiriti o Waitangi, is a sacred covenant, a kawanata tapu, that was signed between various rangatira, iwi and hapu and representatives of the Crown.
One more, WhangareiTim.
That question was really clear. That question was really clear. I was asking whether he believed that all rangatira on behalf of their respective hapu who signed Te Tiriti o Waitangi ceded sovereignty to the British Crown, or did they maintain rangatiratanga?
Well, I'll give him a chance to say something again, but I would point out that he made it clear what he believes, which was the first part of the question.
Talofa lava, Mr Speaker, it is absolutely clear that Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, provided that the Crown would actively protect the rangatiratanga of our people.
Answer it, Tama.
Point of order.
You're the Minister.
Point of order, WhangareiTim.
I'm perplexed by that answer, Mr Speaker, because
Not an answer.
it's not an answer.
Wait a minute. Just hold on.
We are.
It's not an answer.
Start again.
He's made up.
Start again.
Sorry. Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Are heard in silence.
I'm perplexed by that answer because it's actually not an answer. He's made up text that doesn't even exist in Te Tiriti o Waitangi, or even its principles or articles.
That's right.
So I want him to just clarify that for the record, Mr Speaker.
Well, thank you for doing that in your opinion, but he did answer the question with the opening words, I believe, and that is what the intention of your question was, and the words of your question were right at the start. And shake your head, but in the end, words matter. We now have another supplementary.
Does he believe rangatiratanga can be achieved whilst being subjugated and assimilated in this Westminster system.
Talofa lava, Mr. Speaker. We live in an ever-evolving country, Aotearoa New Zealand, and I believe that Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, is a sacred covenant that's been signed by representatives of iwi and hapu and the Crown.
A supplementary, the Honourable Shane Jones.
Can the Minister confirm this debate was settled by Sir Aparanangata in a seminal document reflecting his understanding a lot closer to the signatories of the Treaty of Waitangi, and the Treaty of Waitangi is an indivisible, bilingual, bicultural document incapable of being dismembered to suit the fads of a minor party of Parliament.
Talofa lava.
That's enough. That is an absolute enough. The Honourable Tama Potaka.
Talofa lava, Mr. Speaker. As you are aware, I am a student of the same college that Tāpirana Ngata attended, Te Aute College, and I subscribe to the learnings and the teachings of Tāpirana through great subject matter writings, such as the Treaty of Waitangi and the Price of Citizenship.